Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone, hope you are doing great. So I'm going to discuss one complete exam paper today, and this is specimen paper for June 2023 exam series. So I'll explain one complete paper today in this video lecture. So the first question is the demand for product is inversely related to its price, ceteris paribus. What does ceteris paribus mean in this context? So the scheme is you should stop the video, read the question carefully, and afterwards listen to the logic and try to understand. If you still feel any kind of difficulty, you may write in the comment box. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So question number 1 is relevant to the basic assumption of ceteris paribus. Okay, so I want to share one more information with you as well. You can see a book on your screen right now, and this book is relevant to paper 1, and this book contains a lot of MCQs, topically arranged and yearly arranged, and each question has been explained as well with logic. So you can get this book by sending a text message on WhatsApp number showing on the screen right now, and I'll try to get it delivered to you well on time, right? So if you are from Islamabad and Rawalpindi, then you can get it within 30 minutes time, and if you are from other cities, then you can get it from within 1 day. Or so moving to question number 1, ceteris paribus is the basic assumption. Whenever we explain law of demand or law of supply, we assume that there are certain factors that are kept constant. So this is a Latin term, ceteris paribus, and it means, if we translate it into English, it means that other factors are kept constant or held constant. So option A is the correct answer. Factors affecting demand other than price are held constant. So all the factors that are kept constant while explaining any law are known as ceteris paribus. So option A is correct answer. Okay, so now moving to question number 2. What is likely to be introduced in market economy in the market for bus travel if an economy moves from a mixed economy to a market economy? Okay, so again, you can stop the video, read the question carefully, try to understand and figure out what should be the answer, then read again, listen to the video carefully. Right, so when we move from mixed to a market economy is a kind of economy in which resources are allocated by private individuals and companies, and mixed economy is the combination of both public and private sector, means government and private sector both allocate resources. Now if economy moves to a market economic system, now private individuals will be taking all type of decision. So option A is correct answer, allowing companies to bid for bus routes, right? So option B is free bus travel for school children. Private companies don't allow that. Maximum price for bus travel, maximum price is set through the government intervention. Since it is market economy, government will not interfere. Subsidies to bus operators, since there is no government rule in this market economy, so government will not interfere. So private producers will be able to set prices and bid for the bus routes as well. So option A is the correct answer. Moving to question number 3. Question number 3 says the diagram shows production possibility curve PPC of maize and beans has changed from PPC1 to PPC2. So initially PPC was this one, PPC1, and then it has shifted to the right. So the output of beans was maximum initially 100, now we can produce 200 units, so output of beans has increased. Okay, so moving to the question says what has happened to the opportunity cost of maize and the returns of factors producing beans. So we can clearly see that return of beans has increased from 100 to 200. So this is clear that return of factor producing beans has risen. So option B and D can be correct. So you can cross these two options. Opportunity cost will definitely rise. So option D is correct answer. So we will cross option B as well. So all other options are also incorrect. So why opportunity cost has increased? You might be confused with that as well. So let me explain you. initially we were able to produce 100 units of maize. If I put the ratio of maize and beans, then initially we were able to produce maximum 100 units of maize as well as 100 units of beans. So the ratio was 1:1. If we cancel out these zeros, 1:1. So opportunity cost of 1 unit of maize was 1 unit of beans initially. But now after the change, you can see that the maximum quantity of maize is exactly same, that is 100, but quantity of beans has increased to 200. So now the ratio will be 100 is equal to 200. So now if we remove these two zeros, so ratio is 1:2, means for every 1 unit of maize we have to sacrifice 2 units of beans. So opportunity cost has increased. Initially it was 1:1. Okay, so now moving to another question, and the question says an individual buys a ticket to visit a government owned art gallery, right? How would this visit be classified by an economist? So again, stop the video and read this question carefully. Okay, so when an individual buys ticket, it means it is a private good, right? So option A and B can be correct because both show private goods, so we can cross these two options. And again, art gallery, museums and the stuff like that are basically the part of merit goods, they are not demerit goods. So option B is correct answer. Demerit goods are harmful to the consumers and merit goods are satisfying, and they basically give you happiness and they give you positive externalities or positive side effects to on the society. So question number 5 is, the diagram shows a shift in firm's supply curve from S1 to S2. Supply curve is shifting to the left. It means whenever it shifts to the left, supply is decreasing. So supply is decreasing here. What may have caused the shift from S1 to S2? So now you have to find out the reason that may lead to decrease in supply, and here the reason can be a decrease in subsidy on the good. So option C is correct answer. When government stops providing subsidy is a financial help. If government withdraws financial help from the private producers, then they will be able to produce less. So option C is correct answer. Okay, so if you're confused with any other option, you may write in the comment box. I'll try to get back to you as early as possible. Moving to question number 6, what is not an example of so you have to focus on this word not, because generally students ignore this word. What is not an example of role of factor enterprise in a modern economy? Enterprise is basically the risk taking ability. There are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital and enterprise. So enterprise is the 4th factor of production that involves risk taking ability of entrepreneurs, in which they combine land, labor and capital to produce goods and services. So you have to find out which of these options is not the example of enterprise. Okay, so option B is the correct answer for this question. Making payments to suppliers for raw material and capital goods. Whenever business purchases something from the suppliers, then definitely managers generally make payments on behalf of the business owner. So this is not the function of enterprise. All other options are the part of function of factor production enterprise. They are the roles of enterprise. Okay, so because they involve risk taking. Moving to question number 7, a manufacturer increases the price of product from $4, right? So initially it was $4 and increases to 5 and then 6. In an attempt to increase total expenditure on the product, the table shows outcomes of this policy. So price is continuously increasing and total expenditure is also increasing, and it is increasing with a constant rate, means quantity will be constant. Quantity here, in all cases quantity demand will be 100 here, 100 and then 100. So if we multiply 4 and 100 we will get 400. This is total expenditure. For example, if consumer purchases a product at $4 and he purchases 100 quantity, then his total expenditure will be 400. And on the other hand, when price increases to $5, again he purchases 100 units, so 100 into 5 is equal to 500. And when price increases to 6, he again purchases 100 quantity, and total expenditure increases to 600. So total expenditure and total revenue is calculated as like price multiplied by quantity demand. So we already know the price and we know the total expenditure or total revenue, and we can find out quantity demand. So quantity demand in each cases. So to find out quantity demand, you can just use the formula, mathematical formula. Quantity demand is equal to, we can shift price to the other side. So when we shift it to the other side, it will be like total expenditure divided by price. So we have total expenditure 400 initially. 400 over 4 is equal to 100, 500 over 5 is equal to 100, 600 over 6 is equal to again 100. So when change in price has no impact on quantity demand is totally insensitive. It means it is perfectly inelastic demand, right? So option B is correct answer. Now moving to another question, question number 6. A firm establishes that the price elasticity of supply for a product is 0.3. What is likely to be true about the firm? When price elasticity of supply is 0.3, it means it is inelastic supply. Inelastic supply means when a greater change in price will lead to a smaller change in quantity supplied. So you have to find out which of these options will make the supply inelastic. Okay, so the answer for this question is option C. It uses high proportion of perishable raw material. So perishable raw material means the raw material that basically expires quickly and it cannot be stored for longer time. So there are 4 factors that affect price elasticity of supply. Those include like time period. If something takes long time to produce, then its supply will be inelastic. And similarly, if the product is perishable, like food stuff, agricultural products, fruit and like vegetables as well as milk, so these are perishable goods and have inelastic supply. And similarly, if business has lesser stocks, like it has lesser quantity held in the stock or store, then again it will be inelastic. And similarly, if there is lesser reserve capacity in production plant, again it will be inelastic. And if we reverse these things, then supply will be elastic. Like if it takes less time to produce, then quickly we can produce and increase supply, so supply will be elastic. I'm going to explain like opposite situations when supply, instead of inelastic being inelastic, it is now elastic. So if goods are durable instead of perishable, then again it will be elastic supply. And greater availability of stock, it means you have produced and kept goods in your stores, then definitely a little increase in price will make you easily supply a greater quantity in the market. So supply will be elastic. Lesser reserve capacity instead of lesser reserve capacity, if you have greater reserve capacity, means you can use the production plant further and increase the supply, then supply will be relatively elastic. Okay, moving to question number 9. The diagram shows the market for oil. The original equilibrium is at P. So this is price P, where original equilibrium takes place at this point. It means demand curve is D and supply curve is S, because D and S intersect each other at this point. Now moving to the requirement of question, there is a reduction in world oil supplies due to war in some supplying countries, right? So if suppliers are unable to supply or they can supply less, then it means supply will decrease. When supply decreases, it shifts to the left. So it means new supply curve will be S1. So you can see this line, this is the new supply curve. Okay. Now moving to the other requirement. At the same time, some importing countries are much colder than usual. So since oil is a source of source of energy, then demand for like oil will increase, and as a result demand will shift to the right. When demand increases, demand curve shifts to the right, and so the new demand curve will be D1. Now these two red lines S1 and D1 intersect each other at this point, and as a result price will increase to P4. So the new price will be P4. So option D is correct answer. Moving to another question, question number 10. The demand for a good falls at the same time as its cost of production decreases, right? So it means demand is decreasing, and at the same time cost of production is also decreasing. Decrease in demand will shift demand to the left, and decrease in cost of production will shift supply curve to the right because supply will increase. What will be the combined effect of these changes on the price and on the quantity supplied of the good? Okay, so we cannot figure out until we make the graph for this. So we have a demand curve, negatively sloped demand curve for this, supply curve for this. Equilibrium is at this point where equilibrium price is P and equilibrium quantity is Q. Now if there is decrease in demand and increase in supply, then what changes will occur in this graph? Increase in supply will shift supply curve to the right, so the new supply curve will be S1, and decrease in demand, since demand is decreasing, decrease in demand will shift demand curve to the left, so new demand curve is D1. And new lines are basically S1 and D1. Those are blue lines, so you can see that at new equilibrium price has definitely decreased. So we will pick option A or B. We can cross these two options. What happens to the quantity? Quantity will remain uncertain, so option B is correct answer, because in this case there are chances that quantity may remain the same, may increase or may decrease depending upon how much change is basically occurring in demand and supply curves. Okay, so option B will be the correct answer. This is the correct answer. Moving to question number 11. A government imposes a specific indirect tax on a product. When will the tax cause the greatest reduction in the consumer surplus for the buyers of the product? Right, so consumer surplus is the difference between market price and the price consumer is willing to pay. You already know that, and the impact will be greater if demand is inelastic and supply is elastic. Okay, so when demand is inelastic, it means consumer is forced to purchase the product. He cannot decrease the quantity that much because of increase in price. When government imposes indirect tax, price increases and still consumer will have to purchase it. But on the other hand, supplier is not forced to continue supplying the good. He can decrease the price because decrease the supply because his supply is elastic. So more impact will be on the buyer, that is consumer, in case of option C. So his consumer surplus will greatly decrease. Moving to question number 12, the table shows the maximum amount 3 students would each be willing to pay for a taxi to take them home from the nightclub. Jane is willing to pay this, Sarah and Yasmin. The fare for taxi is $12 each. Assume they share the taxi fare as shown in the table below. This is basically the fact share they pay, generally pay. Which row shows how much they each should pay so that they each obtain the same consumer surplus? Consumer surplus, as I told you, is the difference between market price and the price consumer is willing to pay. So these are the prices consumers are willing to pay, and these are the actual prices they should pay. Okay, so what price they should pay so that all of them get the same consumer surplus? Option D is correct answer for this, because if Jane was willing to pay $10 and if she pays 6, so 10 minus 6 will give us 4 consumer surplus, and Sarah was willing to pay $8 but she actually pays $4, so 8 minus 4 is equal to again 4, and Yasmin 6 minus 2 is equal to, she was willing to pay 2, she was willing to pay 6 but she actually pays 2, so 6 minus 2 is equal to again 4. So all of them are getting same consumer surplus if they pay prices as per option D. Moving to question number 3, a government fixes minimum price for a service. What will be the outcome of such policy? Okay, so minimum price is the price that is set by the government above equilibrium. All of you must know that. And if government imposes minimum price above equilibrium, then option D will be the correct answer as per these options. Production will stay the same if the minimum price is below the equilibrium. As you know that minimum price is always set above equilibrium. If government sets minimum price below equilibrium, then it will be totally ineffective and it will have no impact on equilibrium price and output and production and supply and demand as well. So all of them will remain the same. However, another important thing is if minimum price is set above equilibrium, then it will cause surplus, and on the other hand we have a maximum price. If maximum price is set below equilibrium, that will cause shortage, and if maximum price is set above equilibrium, then again that will be ineffective and that will have no impact on equilibrium price and quantity. So for this question, question number 13, option D is correct answer. Now moving to question number 14, the diagram illustrates the effect of placing a specific indirect tax equal to JM. So this is the specific tax, per unit specific tax, JM, this much, this perpendicular. Which area represents total tax receipts? Total tax receipts mean total amount of tax that government will receive. So we will multiply it by a quantity. If we multiply it by quantity, height into base, then we will get this much area. So this much area is the total tax income that will be received by the government. So XJMZ, option D is correct answer. And examiner may ask question for this, the same question in a different way. He may ask, find out the burden on the consumer or producer. So if we divide this rectangle into two parts, then this upper part is paid by the consumer and the lower part is paid by the producer. So burden on the consumer will be XJLY and burden on the producer will be YLMC. Okay, so however in this question answer D is correct answer. Question number 15 says the diagram shows the demand curve D1 and supply curve S1 for a good. Okay, so this is S1 initial and this is D1 initial demand curve. The government decides to pay producers a specific subsidy for each unit supplied to the market. Which curve shows the new effective demand or supply curve? Since subsidy is a supply factor, so it will have no impact on the demand curve. So demand curve will remain the same, that is D1. But supply will increase, right? So when supply increases, it shifts to the right, or we call it downward shift in the supply curve because it is coming down, right? So downward shift in supply curve, or we can say shift in supply curve to the right. So S2 will be the correct answer. Okay, so I'll explain next 15 questions in the next video. So if you are interested to watch that, then click on the next video. Thank you so much. And again, I would like to let you know that I will be conducting a grand class for MCQs paper in the first week of June, inshallah ta'ala. So if you are interested to join, then you may contact me on WhatsApp number given on the screen, or you may find it in the description as well. And similarly, if you're from Islamabad or Rawalpindi and you can join me physically, then you can come to F8 Asas Academy. And if you are from other cities, then you may join online as well. So this is it for today's video. I'll explain next 15 questions in the next video.